Nobody believed it at first. Not the blogs, not the fans, not even people close to him. Because from the outside looking in, the situation already looked finished. Locked in. No angles left. No way out. And then everything flipped overnight. We're talking about Lil Durk, an artist who's been under pressure for years. Legal issues, industry tension, personal losses, constant headlines following him like a shadow. But this time, something felt different. This wasn't just another rumor cycle or social media panic. This felt like a moment where things could actually end badly. Insiders started saying it bluntly. He's not coming back from this. And that's when the first strange shift happened. Out of nowhere, a new lawyer entered the picture. No press rollout, no public announcement, no attention grab, just a quiet move behind the scenes that only made sense later when things started changing fast. At first, nobody noticed anything major, but then court energy shifted. The tone changed. Decisions that once felt final suddenly started getting questioned. Arguments that seemed settled were reopened, and little by little, the case stopped feeling predictable. Then the headline dropped and hit everywhere at once. Lil Durk back home. Just like that. No long explanation, no breakdown of how it happened. Just a result that left everyone confused because people following the situation closely knew this wasn't supposed to move this fast or this clean. So naturally, the internet did what it always does. It started digging. How did this happen? What changed? What did people miss? Because on the surface, nothing about the situation suggested a quick reversal. So now theories started stacking up. Legal strategy, behind-the-scenes negotiations, connections being activated, or something deeper in the case that only became visible once a different legal mind stepped in. And that's where things get even more interesting. Because whispers started circulating that this new lawyer didn't just defend Lil Durk, they restructured the entire approach. Old arguments were dismantled. Weak points in the prosecution's side were allegedly exposed. And some people even started suggesting that new information might have surfaced that changed the direction of everything. If even part of that is true, then this wasn't just a win. This was a reset. But to understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to go back. Lil Durk didn't come into the industry as a polished, industry-made artist. He came in real, raw, connected to the streets that shaped him, and that authenticity is exactly what made people connect with him in the first place. But that same authenticity also followed him. Because success didn't erase the past, it amplified it. Over the years, he wasn't just building a music career, he was carrying history, old conflicts, street ties, industry pressure, personal losses, things that don't just disappear when fame arrives. And slowly, those shadows started turning into something heavier. Fans noticed it in moments. Certain lyrics that felt too specific, situations that didn't fully add up, energy shifts in interviews where you could tell something deeper was always there, just not being said out loud. And according to insiders, the recent legal situation didn't appear suddenly. It had been building for a long time. Quiet pressure, slow escalation, until it finally reached a point where it couldn't stay behind the scenes anymore. Once it hit the legal system, everything changed. Because in that space, popularity doesn't matter, public opinion doesn't matter, music doesn't matter. Only evidence, strategy, and timing do. And early on, things didn't look good. Reports suggested the case was tight. Options were limited. The energy around it felt heavy. Even supporters started bracing for impact because the direction looked clear, and it wasn't in his favor. Online, people started speaking like the outcome was already decided. He might not beat this. This one looks serious. He should have moved differently. And the scariest part, there wasn't much pushback. Even fans could feel the tension. This wasn't social media noise. This was something that could actually change his life. Behind the scenes, Lil Durk already had legal representation, a team that on paper was experienced and capable. But according to whispers, something wasn't working. The strategy wasn't landing, the momentum wasn't shifting. And in a case like this, that matters more than anything. Because every delay, every misstep, every weak argument can change everything. That's when the quiet decision happened. Bring in someone new. And that's where the entire energy shifted. Because this wasn't just a routine change. This felt like a reset button being pressed in the middle of a storm. The moment the new lawyer stepped in, people started noticing subtle changes. Arguments that once felt locked suddenly got challenged. Details started getting questioned differently. New angles enter. The conversation that hadn't been discussed before. And even though the public didn't fully understand what was happening yet, people close to the situation did. Something was moving. Slowly at first, then all at once. Insiders began saying the same thing in different ways. The energy in the room changed. And once that happens in a legal environment, everything is up for review again. Then came the moment that flipped everything. Inside the courtroom, a move was made, reportedly tied to strategy shifts introduced by the new legal team that completely changed the direction of the case. Arguments that once felt strong started weakening. Pressure shifted sides. And suddenly, what looked like a straight path to a negative outcome didn't look so certain anymore. And that's when people realized something bigger was happening. This wasn't just defense. This was control being taken back. But the most confusing part is still the same question everyone is asking. How did it change so fast? Because from the outside, it looked like nothing should have moved that quickly. But inside, something clearly did. And now the internet is split. Some people say it's smart legal strategy, timing, precision, and experience coming together at the right moment. Others believe there's more to it. That something behind the scenes shifted the entire balance in ways people don't fully understand yet. But one thing is undeniable. The case that once looked stable against him doesn't look stable anymore. And that's what has everyone watching closely again. Because if this was just the first shift, then the real question becomes, what happens next when the full strategy unfolds? And more importantly, what else hasn't been revealed yet? The moment that new lawyer stepped into the courtroom, everything changed. Not gradually, not subtly, instantly. People inside that room, reporters, observers, even the opposing legal team, felt it right away. Because this wasn't just another attorney walking in to follow procedure. This was someone who entered with a completely different presence. Calm, focused, almost unnervingly confident. And then came the first move. Instead of settling into defense mode like everyone expected, they went straight on the offensive. That alone shifted the energy in the room. Because in a situation like this, most people expect damage control, careful wording, strategic silence, a slow attempt to stabilize things. But this lawyer did the opposite. They flipped the script entirely. They started questioning everything. Evidence that had already been accepted, re-examined. Statements that were treated as solid, challenged. Procedures nobody had questioned before, put under a microscope. And once that starts happening in a courtroom, nothing feels stable anymore. Because doubt is powerful. Once it enters a case that looked settled, everything becomes open again. But the real shift came when they stopped focusing on individual pieces and started attacking something deeper, the timeline. And anyone who understands legal strategy knows exactly why that matters. If you can break the timeline, you can destabilize the entire structure of a case. That's exactly what they did. They pointed out inconsistencies, gaps in sequences, moments that didn't line up properly, details that on paper should have matched perfectly, but didn't. At first, people assumed it was just standard legal maneuvering. The kind of routine questioning every defense team tries. But then something happened that changed the tone completely. The lawyer introduced new information. Not speculation, not rumor, something that, according to those inside the room, had never been presented before. And that's when the courtroom shifted from routine to serious. Because now people weren't just reacting, they were questioning how this information had been missed in the first place. How did it not appear earlier? Who overlooked it? Why wasn't it part of the original case strategy? And those questions are dangerous in any legal setting because they don't just challenge a story, they challenge the foundation of how the story was built. From that moment, the focus started drifting. It wasn't just about Lil Durk anymore. It became about the case itself. Was it rushed? Were assumptions made too early? Were key details missed or ignored? Because once doubt hits the structure, everything built on top of it starts shaking. And that's when the lawyer made their boldest move yet. A formal motion. Now motions are normal in court. They happen all the time, but this one didn't feel normal at all. Because it didn't target a small detail or request a minor adjustment. It went straight for the foundation. It challenged how evidence was obtained. It questioned whether proper procedures were followed. And it suggested that some key elements might not even be admissible in court. That's the kind of move that forces everyone to stop. Because if even part of it succeeds, the entire case could sh. If or collapse. Inside the courtroom, the energy changed immediately. What had felt like control suddenly felt uncertain. Opposing arguments that seemed strong started looking vulnerable under renewed scrutiny. Even the judge reportedly took longer pauses than expected because the direction of the case was no longer predictable. This wasn't routine anymore. This was strategic warfare inside a legal system. And while all of this was unfolding in real time inside the courtroom, something else started happening outside it. Online, the narrative began to shift. At first, it was subtle. Posts that were once confidently declaring an outcome started disappearing. Accounts that had been pushing a certain angle went quiet. Even some media pages began changing tone, less certainty, more caution. And that's when people started noticing something was off. Because the internet doesn't usually backtrack that quickly unless something changes behind the scenes. One day, it looked like the pressure was closing in completely on Lil Durk. The next, it looked like the entire structure had cracked open. And now insiders began adding another layer to the situation. They claimed this new lawyer didn't just find weaknesses in the case. They may have uncovered something that wasn't supposed to be seen at all. Something buried in the details, something overlooked, or something intentionally ignored. If that's even partially true, then this isn't just a strong defense. This is a disruption. A moment where the direction of the entire case starts shifting, not toward conviction or closure, but toward something far more complicated. Then came the court's response to the motion. And this is where everything escalated again. People expected something standard, a delay, a partial approval, a rejection with explanation. Instead, the response hit differently. It didn't end the argument. It reopened it. Certain pieces of evidence were suddenly no longer treated as untouchable, not dismissed outright, but no longer guaranteed. And that alone changed everything. Because once evidence loses its certainty, the entire case becomes unstable. Inside the courtroom, that shift was immediate. One argument weakened, then another, then another. And according to those familiar with the proceedings, the new lawyer didn't hesitate to capitalize on that momentum. They went back to the timeline again, this time harder, sharper, more precise. They cross-checked statements, re-examined sequences, highlighted contradictions that now carried more weight than before. And then they introduced something even more critical. A counter-narrative. Not just this didn't happen, but this could not have happened the way it is being described. That distinction changes everything. Because denial can be argued against, but impossibility forces reevaluation. Once that idea enters the room, every detail has to survive pressure testing. And some of those details didn't. As this unfolded in real time, the outside world started catching on again. Headlines shifted tone. Instead of certainty, you started seeing phrases like unexpected turn, legal strategy questioned, case under renewed scrutiny. And that's when people realized something bigger was happening. This wasn't just a defense anymore. This was a full-scale challenge to the structure of the case itself. And now the situation sits in a very different place than it did before. What once looked locked doesn't look locked anymore. What once looked final doesn't feel final anymore. And the most important part, the case is still moving, still shifting, still changing in real time. And the next development could either stabilize everything again or push it even further into uncertainty. And the moment that narrative started shifting publicly, the pressure didn't stay on Durk anymore. It started bouncing back onto the system itself, because now it wasn't just about what happens to him. It was about who controls the story from this point forward. And in the middle of all this noise, Lil Durk did something nobody expected. He stayed completely silent. No interviews, no emotional posts, no explanations, nothing. And strangely, that silence became louder than anything else. Because while the internet was screaming, theories were flying, and every page was trying to break the news first, Durk wasn't feeding any of it. He wasn't reacting. He wasn't engaging. He wasn't giving anyone new material. And that created a different kind of tension. People started saying things like, "He knows something we don't." Others said, "This is strategy. He's letting the lawyers work." But either way, the silence started feeling intentional. Then came the moment that flipped everything upside down. Insiders began hinting that this wasn't just a strong legal defense anymore. This wasn't just good representation. They were saying the new lawyer had actually forced a full reconsideration of how the case itself was being viewed. Not just argument. TS changed. Not just strategy adjusted. The entire direction started shifting. And that's when things escalated fast. Conditions around the case reportedly changed. Meetings were happening behind closed doors. Decisions that once looked final were suddenly being questioned again. And then, out of nowhere, the headline hit the internet like a shockwave. Lil Durk back home. Just like that. No long explanation, no detailed breakdown, no public speech. Just a result that left everyone frozen. Because nobody thought it would move this fast. Not the fans, not the critics, not even people watching the case closely. Something had clearly changed behind the scenes, but nobody could fully explain what. The reaction online was instant chaos. Fans celebrated like it was a victory lap. Clips were posted, old moments resurfaced, hashtags started trending within minutes. Durk always makes it out. They doubted him again. For them, it wasn't just legal news anymore. It felt personal, like someone they supported had just beaten the odds again. But on the other side, the energy was completely different. Critics weren't celebrating. They were questioning. How does something like this flip so fast? Where are the details? This doesn't feel fully explained. And that's where the divide started forming again. Not just opinions, full-on arguments. Threads breaking down timelines. YouTube analysts rewatching court updates. People trying to piece together what actually changed. Because the result didn't match the expectations. And when that happens, the internet doesn't move on. It investigates. Meanwhile, the industry started reacting too. Some artists stayed vague. Cryptic posts, emojis, short messages like "truth always comes out" or "God is good." Others were more direct, showing support or acknowledgement. But what stood out the most was who didn't speak. Names people expected to comment stayed completely silent. No posts, no reactions, nothing. And fans noticed immediately. Because in moments like this, silence isn't empty. It feels loaded. It makes people wonder what's happening behind the scenes that nobody is saying out loud. And as the conversation grew, something else started happening. The focus expanded. It wasn't just about Durk anymore. It became about everyone connected to him: past collaborators, associates, old relationships, industry ties. People started digging deeper, revisiting old interviews, searching for hidden meaning in lyrics, trying to connect dots that may or may not even exist. Because once a story flips this fast, people assume there's more beneath it. Media outlets jumped in next. Headlines changed tone almost instantly. Instead of certainty, you started seeing phrases like "unexpected development," "case takes sudden turn," "questions remain unanswered." Even analysts couldn't agree on what happened. Some said it was simply a strong legal turnaround. Others hinted that there was still information the public hadn't seen yet. And that uncertainty kept everything alive. Because the moment a story becomes unclear, the internet doesn't stop, it digs deeper. Then came a quieter detail. Something that didn't trend immediately, but spread slowly through conversations and posts. A rumor suggesting that the new lawyer wasn't done yet. That this wasn't just about getting Durk home. It was about what comes next. And if that's true, then this moment isn't the conclusion people think it is. It's the setup. Because in high-stakes cases like this, one shift doesn't end the story. It changes the battlefield. And right now, according to everything unfolding, the battlefield is still moving. And just when it felt like the situation might finally settle, the conversation shifted again, fast. Because another rumor started spreading, and this one wasn't vague like before. It was specific, structured, almost like it had direction. Something major, people said, was about to be revealed next. And if it dropped, everything that had already happened could be completely rewritten again. At this point, the internet wasn't reacting anymore. It was anticipating. Like everyone was waiting for the next shockwave to hit. Then it happened. Late at night, when timelines had slowed, when most people had logged off, when things felt quiet for the first time in days. A clip surfaced. Short, grainy, no clear context. But powerful enough to restart everything. Nobody could even confirm where it came from at first. No official source. No explanation. Just a piece of footage spreading faster than anyone could control. And instantly, the internet snapped back into chaos. Because insiders began linking it to the same situation that brought Lil Durk into the spotlight in the first place. And even though the clip didn't prove anything directly, it did something else. It raised questions. Serious ones. People started replaying it obsessively. Zooming in, slowing it down, enhancing audio, frame-by-frame breakdowns. Trying to find meaning. In every second. Is this real evidence? Or is this a distraction meant to shift attention? Because by now, everyone had learned one thing the hard way. Nothing appearing online felt accidental anymore. Everything felt like it was placed there for a reason. And just as that clip began trending, another rumor started circulating underneath it all. This time, it wasn't about the footage. It was about the lawyer. Because according to multiple unverified sources, the same lawyer who allegedly flipped the direction of the case might be preparing something much bigger. Not defense, not damage control, something more aggressive, an offensive move. And that idea changed the entire energy again. Because think about it. Up until now, everything had been reactive, responding to claims, challenging evidence, creating doubt, pushing back against pressure. But what if the next step wasn't defense at all? What if it was exposure? That's where the rumors started getting uncomfortable. People began suggesting that this lawyer might have uncovered information that doesn't just impact Lil Durk's situation, but potentially connects to other individuals too. Names not publicly mentioned, details not released, threads that haven't been pulled yet. And if that's true, then what the public has seen so far might only be the surface, not the full picture, not even close. And then things escalated again. Because around the same time, a message allegedly leaked online. Private, unconfirmed, no verified source. But it spread anyway. Vast. And one line from it became the center of everything. They didn't expect us to look this deep. That was it. No explanation. No context. Just a sentence that instantly changed the tone of the conversation. Because now people weren't just asking what happened to Lil Durk. They were asking something else entirely. What did they find? And who is worried about it coming out? Because that's where things started feeling different. If the defense is no longer just defending and starts revealing things, then the situation doesn't stabilize. It expands. It gets heavier, more unpredictable, more dangerous for everyone involved. And just when people thought that was already the peak of speculation, another rumor surfaced. Quieter at first, then louder, then unavoidable. Lil Durk himself might speak. Not indirectly, not through hints or leaks, but directly. A full statement, possibly even a video. And if that happens, everything resets again. Because so far, his silence has been part of the strategy. No interviews, no posts breaking down the situation, no emotional reaction feeding the internet. Just silence. And that silence has allowed lawyers to control the narrative. But the moment he speaks, the narrative stops being controlled by anyone else. It becomes personal and unpredictable. Because what he says matters. How he says it matters. What he chooses to reveal or not reveal matters even more. And that's what has everyone on edge now. Not just the case, but the possibility of a direct voice entering the situation. And then comes the part that makes everything feel even heavier. Because according to whispers circulating online, there are still individuals connected to this entire situation who haven't said a single word yet. Not publicly, not officially, not even subtly. They're just watching, waiting, observing how everything unfolds before deciding their next move. And insiders suggest something even more unsettling. Some of them are waiting to see if others come forward first. Like a chain reaction that hasn't started yet, but is close. So now the tension isn't just about what has already been said. It's about what hasn't been said yet. Because silence in a situation like this doesn't feel neutral anymore. It feels loaded. Like something is being held back on purpose, or something is still being decided behind the scenes. And that's why this moment feels unstable. Because the story isn't closing. It's expanding. Every new rumor adds another layer. Every leaked detail raises new questions. Every silence feels intentional. And every reaction online fuels the next wave. So now the internet is split into different directions. One group believes this was a legal turnaround, a strong defense strategy that shifted everything at the right moment. Another group believes something deeper is happening behind the scenes, something not fully visible yet. And a third group, they're not choosing sides at all. They're just waiting, watching, waiting for the next drop that changes the direction again. And that's the part nobody can ignore. Because every time people think they understand what's happening, something else appears. A clip, a rumor, a message, a shift in tone, and the entire story moves again. So the real question now isn't just what happened in court. It's what hasn't come out yet. What is still hidden? What is still being held back? And who, if anyone, is going to speak next? Because if even any more voice enters this situation with real information, then everything so far might just be the beginning chapter, not the conclusion. And that's why people are paying attention differently now. Not just reacting, but waiting. Because the feeling across the internet is the same. This isn't finished. Not even close. It's still unfolding. And the next update could change everything again. And that's exactly what's making this situation feel heavier with every passing hour. Because when a story reaches this level, where rumors, leaks, silence, and legal movement are all overlapping, it stops being just news in the normal sense. It becomes a waiting game where every small detail can shift the entire direction. Even the way people are reacting online has changed. Earlier, it was confidence and strong opinions. Now it's hesitation mixed with curiosity. People are rechecking old clips, rereading old statements, and wondering if they missed something important the first time. And behind all of this, one question keeps coming back again and again. If everything was so clear, why does it keep changing? That's what's keeping attention locked in. Because the moment you think the situation is settled, another layer appears, another claim surfaces, another silence becomes louder, and suddenly the picture isn't complete again. Meanwhile, the idea that more voices could still enter this situation is what's keeping tension alive. Not just celebrities or public figures, but people who were allegedly present, people who know details that haven't been spoken about yet. And if even a fraction of that comes out, the entire narrative could shift again in a way nobody is prepared for. So for now, everything is still hanging in the same place, unresolved, unpredictable, and still unfolding.